Hello and welcome back. This is Vincenz and today we are looking at bounty hunting missions in patch 4.0. So we're starting the video today at the HRT level, and this is the level where you start getting some cargo ships in the missions. So we're going to be in our Taurus and we're going to start collecting whatever loot we can find just to help increase our earnings. The missions do pay out a lot better payouts now, and each individual player gets their own payout rather than the payout being split between the whole team. So we've started getting some cargo ships in these HRTs, and we're just going to take whatever valuable loot there is to start earning some cash in the game, and straight away we've got 3 Quantanium and 1 Slam. Quantanium is now one of the most valuable resources, coming in at around 20k, and this is even more now than Gasping Weaver Legs that are now nerfed to 18k. So we're definitely going to grab all the Quantanium, and we're going to grab whatever drugs there may be as well. In the HRT missions you do get like 3 to 4 to 5 Quantanium, and that can be worth up to about 100k. So as well as the money you get for the mission, it is a nice little bonus grabbing a few containers. And I'm going to take these to Seraphim, I'm going to store them all in my warehouse, and then when I've got a full load I'll fill up the Taurus and either take it down to Orison or go and sell it at Grim Hex or one of the salvage yards depending on what we've got. With the latest frame rates on the servers, these missions can now be quite tough. The ships seem to be hitting with every shot, and this does make it quite difficult. So when you're in a mission here, like with these guys, a load of heavy fighters, I'd suggest using the asteroids or whatever you can to give yourself a little bit of cover, and to try and make the missions a little bit easier. They do start getting pretty hard from the HRT stage, and even in the Taurus there can be some danger of you getting killed coming up against 3 heavy fighters, especially if they've got ballistic weapons and stuff. They can do a lot of damage to the ship. Once you complete the HRT rep grind, you move up to the VHRTs. These used to be pretty easy for a solo fighter, but again now with this server frame rate, these missions can be pretty tough. Here we are coming up against a Carrack and you can see that it's absolutely nailing me. My shields are getting pretty red and they're going down pretty quick. So every fight is now a lot more challenging, and you've got to be careful with what ships you get. If we've got a couple of these Carracks in a mission, it's going to be really tough, and we're probably not going to be able to kill them both. So here we're checking out what this Carrack's got on board, and this one's got 15 Quantanium. That's about 300k, so we're definitely going to unload this ship. And as you can see now, the Carrack has now got its cargo doors that actually work, so you can access the cargo hold and loot the ship finally. It's been many years we've been waiting for this, and it is nice to see. The doors open on both sides, and these Carracks can now be packed with cargo. It can be quite difficult on the Carrack to get the bigger containers out, but if you keep the container as low as possible and just slide it along the floor, they do come out alright. So now we've started finding slightly bigger numbers of Quantanium, which is pretty good. So getting an extra few 100k on the mission is definitely going to help with the money grind, and since we've had our accounts reset, I have lost about 30 ships, so I want to grind some money as quickly as I can and get back some of my favourite ships. You also get slightly better ships I find now in the VHRTs. You get a lot of big cargo ships now like the C2s, the Carracks, the Caterpillars, Starfarers, things like that. So there is always the chance of getting a good loot haul in any of these cargo ships. So on this C2 we've got another 10 Quantanium, which is another 200k. Over the last few missions we've made an extra 500k just out of the cargo, and we've made around 50 to 60k per mission. So the missions are quite lucrative, as well as the payout. We are getting a couple of 100,000 per VHRT, which is not too bad. Sometimes you will find empty ships and sometimes a whole VHRT will be a bust, but on the whole I am finding maybe an extra 2 to 500k per VHRT mission in the cargo. As I do my missions, I'm just stocking up the Taurus, and once again I will go and hand all this in at Seraphim and sell them when the time is right. The caterpillars now do hold some loot as well. They are a little bit annoying to unload as you've got to get very close to the containers to pull them off the grid. They don't seem to work from distance even with a max lift. But as you can see here, we've got another nice 16 SCU of Quantanium, and that's another 300k in the bank. So along with all the other Quantanium we've got on board the ship, we're starting to make some good money. Here another 9 Quantanium, and we've got a big container of medical supplies. The values of all cargo has slightly changed in this patch, and some things are more worth it than others. So we spent an hour there filling up the Taurus, and we've definitely got some good money on board. But unfortunately, with patch 4.0 there are, as I mentioned before, some great things and some not so great things. One of those not so great things is that every so often the servers tend to die, and at any point you can get a crash and a black screen of death. So here we had a pretty full load for the Taurus, which could have been a mil or two, and unfortunately I got a black screen of death while unloading my cargo. So I wouldn't hang on to too much cargo, just because if you've got a good amount of value on board, get it back to Seraphim or get it back to Grim Hex and get it stored as quickly as possible before you lose it. So once this crash had happened to me, I did start nipping back and forward a bit more regularly, and every time I got to about 500,000, I would head back to Seraphim and dump the containers into my warehouse. So here I am just collecting some of the Quantanium from my Seraphim warehouse, and I'm going to take this to Orison and see if I can hand it in there. In the previous patches I haven't been able to get the trade terminal working in Orison, and anything that was stored in my Orison warehouse would have to be taken to Microtech or Area 18 to be sold at one of the TDDs over there. So this was our first test of the TDD in Orison to see if it was going to work and we'd finally be able to sell some of our cargo. This makes it a lot easier because you can store at Seraphim, like I say, if you're doing the missions around Yella, and then you can just nip down to Orison and sell the stuff. Before it was a bit of a trek across the verse, and then I'd head back to Crusader to do more missions. So here we did end up with quite a lot of Quantanium, and we needed this money because our guns had vanished from our Taurus, so we'd fitted it with some M7As which we used from our Corsair, but one day they just mysteriously vanished and I no longer had any weapons on the Taurus. So here I stockpiled a lot of my Quantanium, and as I went to Orison I needed some cash. I needed at least 1.3 million to buy some new guns for the ship, and luckily we had 2.5 millions worth of Quantanium. So you can earn some good money, and I'm assuming the money will only get better as we go up to the ERTs. So we're going to keep doing the missions, and we'll bring you the next video on ERTs. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Please like, please subscribe to support the channel, and until next time, take it easy.